So my story is actually very simple, and I am absolute an example of you can come from not having done a huge amount in your youth to all of a sudden making things, or not all of a sudden, over the years making things happen. I first came to Dubai in 1975 with a gentleman who I'm still married to, and wasn't married to then because I would have been too young. And we came to visit his father because although my husband is English, very English, his father was living in the Middle East and had been here since immediately after the war. So I came here to meet my partner. Well, he wasn't a partner because I was too young to have a partner, but the gentleman, the chappie I was spending time with, to meet his family. And his father welcomed me to Dubai, showed me Dubai. We spent time here. And after a couple of visits in 1979, he said to Russell and I, well, what are you two going to do? Are you going to get married? Well, I was only 20. And of course I said to Russell, or to his father, he can't afford to keep me in the manner to which I'm accustomed, so I think it unlikely. So his father said, well, why don't you come to Dubai? Come here for 2 years and you will be able to set yourselves up for the future. Needless to say, I said, well, I'm not coming with somebody I'm not married to because I don't believe in any of that nonsense. So all of a sudden, on my 21st birthday, we got engaged. In the May, we got married. And on July the 13th, 1980, we came here. And the reason that was so significant then was that was the first day of Ramadan. And this year, that will probably also be the first day of Ramadan. So I've done a whole year of Ramadans. And I've learnt quite a bit along the way. Now, obviously, coming at 21, I hadn't had a huge amount of education. I left school when I was 16. I did what they call in England GCSEs, or they were O-levels then, GCSEs now. And I joined Rolls-Royce Aero Engine Division as a business technician, which meant that I went to work 4 days a week, went to college 1 day and 2 nights a week, and did my ONC and then HNC in business studies. And Rolls-Royce, as part of a government-sponsored scheme, gave me an apprenticeship. So they paid me a salary. And again, what was significant and that would have been 1975, was that when I first started working for them, I earned £12.85 a week. But within only 2 weeks, my salary got increased to £18 because that would then be equal to what the boys were earning. So in that time, we saw a change into equality of wages for male and female in the UK. So just the time to enter the world of working, I would say. So I did my apprenticeship at Rolls-Royce, which facilitated spending time in different departments. And from the time that I was very little, I used to go to my father's office, and I used to just love the fact that the girls would sit at desks and everybody was all very dressed up, very grand. So I wanted to be in an office. I always just wanted to be in the corporate world. I didn't know that's what it was, but that's what it was. So when I came to Dubai, I took a job with Clattons. Clattons is still in Dubai. It is a UK real estate company. I took the job because it had a car. And as newlyweds, we needed a car, or an extra car. My husband got one with his job. I wanted a job with a car as well. So that's how I came into real estate, not because it actually had any interest to me particularly, or not, but the job had a car, so let's have that job. But that job was only part-time. And after a very short amount of time, I thought, I can't do this part-time business. I'm too young. I need to do things. So I moved into property management, and I started managing a building called Mansour Tower, which is now called Dubai Tower in Al Nasser Square for Sheikh Miriam. And it was fun, but it was learning as you go, which was fine. And I worked with Clattons until 1985, so from December 84. And I decided to leave them because the new boys came in, and they came out of London, and they really hadn't got a clue about how Dubai worked, about how people interacted. And in those days, all of our friends were local. No, most of our friends were local. We had a few expatriate friends as well, but we were embraced. And I have to say, we had such fun. It was the most tremendous time, the beginning of the 80s. Well, the decade of the 80s, really, in the Emirates. We used to go fishing, and we used to do all sorts of things that, having come out of England from a, pretty sort of structured life, it was just fun. We used to go camping, we'd sleep in the desert, and we'd go on boat trips, and we'd go fishing, all sorts of things that I would never perhaps have had the opportunity. And then being in the business of real estate, of course, we started to see growth. Now, in 1985, because of the change of staff at Clattons, my husband decided that I should start my own business because he says you work too hard and too long to be working for somebody else. So Russell decides that I should start my own company. So I meet a number of friends, local friends, and said, right, who's got a license? What are we going to do? And perchance, Mohammed bin Sulayem, who's into rally driving, said to one of my other colleagues, oh, I think we've got a real estate license. You better meet my brother. So I met Sultan Sulayem, and he was to be made, and was made, chairman of Jebel Ali Free Zone in March 1985. And he said, look, as of that time, I won't have time to be looking after the family property. So let's start a company. So that's what we did. So we started the company. There were 3 or 4 of us, a handful. And the company, Astico, is Ahmed Sulayem Trading Enterprises Company. And of course, I couldn't answer the phone. Well, I wasn't going to answer the phone with all of that because you couldn't really sort of get a lot in the way of conversation. So we called the company Astico. We worked on it. Property management is our core business because from that, you know, demographic choice, rents, cost of running a building, occupancy levels. Property management is the core for me and for Astico, for anything to do with property, because that's what you get the knowledge from. I'm watching. So we use the property management as the core business. Business grew. A lot of my clients from the early days are still my clients, Hussein Sultan, Abdulhamid Siddiqui, the really nice quality people of Dubai, I must say, really lovely clients, are still with me today, and as their estates have grown, so my business grew. In the late 80s, of course, life was a little bit tense around here. There were a few issues. We got involved with a number of the bigger projects, Wafi. That was 1991 when that finished, and that, of course, was also in the middle of another exciting event. So business grew, time went by, learning as I go along, as anybody in Dubai would be learning about property, because the market here has just changed so dramatically over the time. Until the mid-90s, when His Highness said to Sultan, Dubai needs more waterfront property. So Sultan put a core team together, people from Australia, Dutch people, overseas people. It was all very, you know, as Dubai likes to do things, sometimes very confidential and hidden and all this sort of thing. And we put together, and the gentleman from overseas put together the first options or schemes or plans for a waterfront development. When His Highness saw these 2 little blobs of islands, he said, no, they have to be connected to the land. So Warren Pickering, the consultant architect, said, OK, then I'll put a causeway, and by the way, I have to put a breakwater to stop the island washing away. So gradually over the course of time, the design of the palm evolved. And probably one of the most exciting things I ever did was go to Sheikh Mohammed, well, of course, I was just part of, to do the presentation on the palm, where all the local gentlemen of repute, of course, were all there, all done in Arabic, and although I speak, I can understand enough. And it was just the most exciting moment ever, if you can imagine, that this presentation for this man-made development that was going to be increasing the waterfront by such a huge percentage. And it all goes on, all this sort of, and His Highness stood up, he says, I don't need to make money, but I mustn't lose money. Let's do it. So then we were engaged with a complete review team. So if all the original work had to be revisited by another group of consultants. And so life went on and business went on. Astico wasn't allowed to be involved with the palm after the initial sales, and we only ever were allowed to do work that His Highness approved because of conflict of interest, etc., etc. So I started learning what corporate governance was all about then. And I have to say, one of the things that I have learnt the most over the past decade is the importance of corporate governance, and how many people have such short memories that the decade of 2000, or from 2000 to 2008, when everybody was doing everything like mad, and then to turn around in 2010 and say, well, didn't you get approval first? Well, you know, can we all please get real? We all knew what was going on, but for the future, we know about corporate governance. So we got involved with the Palm, got involved with a number of other developments that people built on the Palm or in other parts of New Dubai. We grew the business, brought suits in from other countries to be the management team, grew the company to 350 people. Then, of course, we had that magical 2008. We've now reduced ourselves back down to about 150. However, 80 of the people were given to Abu Dhabi Commercial Bank, who we set up ADCP Properties for. So I have been extremely lucky to have built a business in a country that has grown. So I can't say, and one couldn't say, that I could have done what I've done in another territory, because timing is all important. But taking advantage of the opportunities is very important. And if you don't take advantage of the opportunity, then more fool you. You know, life is for living, and I believe the only way you really succeed is by sheer hard work. Sheer hard work. Honesty, hard work, and now a lot more corporate governance, which we're learning about. So there we are. Have I done my time?
Yes.
There we go. I've tried to condense it. Thank you.